Hello everyone, here we are on Wild Wild Wes's Gelvin Valley. Well, we already have a car stopped here. You know, maybe this is a strategic thing, parking our tractor here full of apples like we did. We're holding up traffic in the hopes that they get out of the car and buy some fruit. I haven't checked the stand here in a little bit. I almost think it's down just slightly, which tells me it's selling. So I'll dump a little more into it. Oh boy, this is going to be a painfully long process. Actually, let me see, can I tell from... It's probably this $400 here is all that I've earned. Oh boy, yeah, this is going to take a while. And maybe what I'll need to do is put in several stands that I can sell the fruit at. And there may, you know, I may need to put in other placeables that are able to take fruit. I mean, this is going to take a while. I'll be all day and then some potentially selling this trailer load of apples. But anyway, at least it's holding up some potential customers. Otherwise, oh yeah, I'm going to need to take this over. This is the field we've planted. It still has some areas in it that aren't, much to my chagrin. Oh yeah, we can even see across the way over here we're planting in this field. I guess even at a distance you can tell that it's been planted. And speaking of, here we are. And here we'll go. I almost think it helps to have the lights on, so because it kind of highlights the areas where there's stubble that we want to plant over. This one here I've simply done round and round, so hopefully it means that there are fewer. Oh, see, I missed a spot right over here. I'm just going to go down over here and edit. And it could be because I had to do, you know, I'm thinking now, there was a script I had to work on early on for some of these. I know I made one for bales, you'll recall, so that it would stick on the hill and didn't just, you know, flow clear to the bottom immediately. And then I made another one because I was having trouble when I was planting, having the seeder actually get the seeds into the ground. It's like it's something in the oh, see, I got a couple little, man, I'm missing this all over. Here's another little strip. Good grief. But it's like there's something in the Lewis script that if it isn't deemed to be close enough to the ground, it doesn't plant any seeds. And here I must have just missed. So a lot of times what I was having to do was kind of come at the ground at different angles, you know, with a seeder, just to see if I could, you know, figure out what angle I needed to take it at in order to plant the seeds. Well, so now I'm wondering if some of the spots left open aren't just due to the hill, but also maybe some unevenness. I think it has trouble whenever the ground is uneven. It doesn't, sometimes it doesn't want to drill the seed in. But whatever. Like I say, I tried to set up a script that would help take care of that, where that didn't ultimately matter. And I think so far it served us fairly well, but maybe a few hiccups here and there in cases where the ground is a little more uneven than others. And we are almost done with this. I keep wondering when our last crop is going to be over in this particular piece, as it's technically the cow pasture, and as soon as we have a dairy herd, don't know when that'll be, but when that day comes, we'll be replanting all this to grass. And the thing about a dairy herd is you gotta feed them total mixed ration. And I was trying, it has been so long since I've made some of that. I've been trying to remember how to make it. I know it as silage. I'm pretty sure some straw is put in, but is that all that's required? Or where does the root crops come in? Or did that not hit until Farm Sim 17, where the feed ration started needing to have potatoes or that, or maybe that's for the pig food that I'm thinking of. I just can't remember. Maybe I could get into it quicker than I think, you know, and I know if I do beef cattle, I'm pretty sure I have to feed them a root crop as part of their feed ration. So some of it isn't that I'm so much opposed to trying it or doing it, it's just logistically what is going to be needed in order to do it. You know, putting in a root crop is totally different from what I've been doing, you know, which is just drilling cereal grains and then coming into the combine. So, I mean, I need a different planter, I need different harvesting equipment, but the thing of it is I don't need that much root crop, you know, to take care of the animals that I have. So, you know, I was kind of toying with the idea of planting some in that little patch over by our main farmyard, maybe putting some in there. But yeah, I I need to make a lot of money, get out of debt, and have every bit of equipment that I need, and then I can just do it however I want. Although I'm probably passing up on profit opportunities. You know, something that's hard, or you got to do a little bit of math to figure out, is, you know, you can sell pretty much any commodity that you grow in the ground. Well, not just pretty much, you can. Oops, I'm on the wrong key. Or you can take the commodity and convert it into something else, you know, a value-added product. So I would say creating milk is a type of value-added product, because instead of selling the crops out of the field, you're putting them into your cows, and the cows in turn are giving you milk, which is hopefully a higher value product. In other words, you'd be making more money, again, hopefully, than you would if you just sold the commodity straight out of the field. But what's hard in here, because they don't just provide you all the maths in order to work that out, is to figure out how much more you would get, whether you get more, you know, by the time you factor in all the known variables. You know, I gotta say, I've given it a try on some other maps, and, you know, trying to figure that out. And sometimes you don't make more by taking your commodities and putting it into vehicles, into value added, like animals or that kind of thing. Let me see here. We need to go over just a little bit and try that. That'll work. It'll work. But the trouble is, I had to do some math and analysis to figure that out. And I don't know, maybe nobody cares about that kind of thing. I obviously certainly haven't, at least not on this save, on account of my financial woes. But I'm trying to turn a buck in here. As long as a bank keeps giving me money, that's good, right? Oh yeah, and you probably noticed my money is up. I can't remember, I may have had it, it was probably up last episode as well. You'll recall I took out a loan, and for some reason it just didn't give me the full value for the loan, so I gave it to myself in the save game file. I'm still a little troubled by that. You know, I think I did the right thing, but I can't imagine why the mod would mysteriously take out 100 grand more in debt and not give you the 100 grand, you know, to your bank account. So maybe there's a bug, glitch. It's the first one I think I've noticed, you know, with the Bank of Against the F mod. Which otherwise I really enjoy the mod because it's not only is it a type of debt instrument, you know, that you can have in game, which of course we need as farmers, but it's more than just a line of credit. You know, a line of credit is something you can borrow on and repay and borrow and repay as many times as you like. That's kind of how they're designed. Whereas, and that's typical for an operating line, but when you're purchasing real estate in particular, making a significant investment, a lot of times for those you get into long-term debt type arrangements, you know, where it isn't just borrow and repay, it only goes one way. Now, what they don't have in here, but I think would be really clever if they could somehow put it in there, is the repayment schedule. You know, here I think it's just what they would call a balloon payment, meaning once you reach the due date, the entire amount is due. But in real life, you know, there may be some instruments, you know, where, you know, you have an annual payment or whatever, but it's a payment nonetheless. You know, they're typically long-term financing is set up, you know, with regular payments. Most ones I'm familiar with are monthly payments, and then you still have a balloon, but they're typically, I guess they call that loan amortization, you know, where payments are made over time towards the principal. But to do that in here, you know, I mean, I think it could be done, but it would just take some extra programming and hoopla. So I don't blame them for not doing it. It's certainly easier just having folks pay at the end. And I'm sure not going to calculate or make a different one. I think I left a couple spots there. Oops. I'm gonna have a bunch of patchwork quilt fields. I don't figure out. Yeah, see, this field is relatively flat, so on the flat, yeah, it seems to be it captures the whole width, except when I screw up, like turning the corner here. So I may go get that little dab, but I need to remember that when I get up the hill from here, you know, it's going to get steep again, so I probably need to shrink the, my GPS down just a fuzz so that it actually gets a job done on the slope. Alright, one more pass and we're going to have this field down. We'll be heading off. Getting the place planted. The last episode, I continued a topic I had started earlier, and then I got distracted, bought a bunch of sheep, did some mowing, introduced another topic. So I've been trying to go back to this other one. Again, not because anybody cares or that I expect anybody to care. Let's see if I can sneak this out the gate here. I just love the vibrant colors in this map. Just a lovely place. But, so I revisited an old topic, you know, of mentioning things I've only done once in my life and probably only ever will do once in my life. It's snuck in here. Oops. Went in cab. Kept my wings out. Already down. I think where I left off last time was talking about Disneyland, and I don't know how much I want to say about that. I have some memories of it. I shared some last time, um, and I think I mentioned it's not something my wife and I have chosen to take our kids to in our home. Now, who knows what our kids will do when they have kids? They may take them. Maybe we'll even take the grandkids. Um, but yeah, anyway, that's a whole separate thing. But I do remember having a good time when I went there, even though I basically was an adult. Well, kind of. I mean, I was in college at the time, so I might have been, I don't know, 20, maybe. So, adult enough, I guess. So, kind of seeing it through a different lens, or vision, if you will, than a child would. They had some cool things there. Enjoyed the rides. I was back when I could ride rides. Now I pretty much avoid all that kind of thing. I have a feeling if I got onto one of those things, anything beyond a Ferris wheel, I would probably be vomiting. I don't know, does that come with old age or something? You get older and it becomes harder to keep your equilibrium. When I was a kid, I mean, I used to be able to read in the car, when we were driving on a long trip, and that never made me car sick. But yeah, once in grade school, I know that other one thing, the thing that I thought of to start this whole topic off, the deep sea fishing trip. That was a once and done. I mean, I got sick. There was no reading needed out there. But anyway, I used to be able to handle all those rides at the fair, and where they county fair, whatever, where they had all those. And boy, anymore. I mean, some I've got on the verge of being sick in. Oh yeah, I went to this one ride one time. This was up in Portland. It's some place. I think it was called OMSI, Museum of Science and Industry, something like that. I think that's what it's called. Let me get this established again. Now, okay, I gotta shrink her down. Let's offset. Alright, so that now is shrunk down slightly, so hopefully we'll be planting the whole width, that we see. But anyway, up at this OMSI thing, they oftentimes would have some kind of scientific exhibit, of the month, where some group would bring something in. It was just a cool place to have that. So, I mean, there's always a revolving exhibit of some kind. The last time I was there, I seem to recall it was on conception of a baby. So they had all these life-size, and I don't think they were replicas. I think they were actual, where for whatever reason a woman didn't carry a baby to term. It had, I don't think they were from abortions. I hope not. But it showed the stages of development from just a tiny size to almost ready to be born. Just so you can kind of see it. That's the nature of the exhibits that they had in there. They also always had a section in there where it was mainly for kids. They had puzzles and things to teach you scientific concepts and, like gravity and whatnot. Or even they had a device that would simulate an earthquake. What it feels like when you're in an earthquake of varying degrees of intensity. Of course, they didn't let you get it too intense. So they would have a lot of exhibits like that. And outside, this it's in Portland, which has the Willamette River runs through it. So the whole place was adjacent to the river, and outside they had a dock, and someone had donated a submarine. And this particular submarine happened to be one that I think was used in when they shot the movie Hunt for Red October. Apparently, it was used in that movie. I don't remember where. I don't think it was October, or I don't think it was the Russians, of course. But so anyway, somehow they ended up with it there. You could get a tour through it, so that's something that's kind of cool. I think it's a permanent fixture there. Belongs to OMSI up there. And then they always had a massive theater, and it's the IMAX theater. You know, that special film that's kind of oh, it isn't 3D per se, but it kind of surrounds a whole dome, you know, instead of just being on a flat screen. So there's always some show they had going on there. So I'm just recounting all the things that was up in there. Um, you know, the typical things. Man, I can't really get this turned around. So steep. But then one other thing that they had, this is what I was meaning to get to, all my rambling going on and on here, is they had rides. You know those kinds of rides, you know, where you go into a fully enclosed box that is sitting up kind of on stilts. Well, not stilts. It's sitting atop some machinery that make the box move. You know, so if you go up there inside of it, maybe it looks like the cockpit of a fighter jet, and so then the machinery outside of the box moves it around in a way that simulates the movements of a plane. And there's no windows, you can't see outside. What there is screens all around the, it looks like windows, but it's computer screens projecting images on it. And there are some of these that I've enjoyed in the past, and then there was one, I mean, I just refused to go inside those things anymore. There was one that attempted to simulate I think it was a type of submarine, or going under the sea to see something. So I already, you know, get seasick, like everyone here knows, and I never want to go on the sea again. So I don't know what possessed me to go inside this particular unit, but I'll never forget getting in there, and it felt just like the ocean again, and I was in there barely a minute, and it's like, I can't wait for this to be over. I feel sick to my stomach. So I didn't even enjoy it the whole time. I was just like, when is this going to be over? And it was darting around, doing all these things, you know, going after fish, looking at whales or whatever you would see under the ocean. I just ignored it because I was seasick. And so, yeah, rides I can't hardly do anymore. But during the days when, you know, our family went to Disneyland, I did go on a bunch of rides, and the only one I recall that threw me for a loop, or that I kind of got sick on, what was that called? Is there a Magic Mountain? Maybe there is. But you go, whatever it was called, it was kind of and the reason I went on, I mean, it was a type of roller coaster, I think. And the thing I didn't know was that it was basically 100% in the dark. You know, you go in there, and I think they show you stars, and you see some cool things in there or whatever. But again, I was sick and counting down the time to get off of that thing, because when you're in the dark and you can't see what's coming, you don't know which direction you're going to turn, and then all of a sudden this machine that you're on jerks you this way and that way, and I mean, for me, it just made me sick. But I do remember hearing from some of the family, you know, they were able to sit kind of on the front of this thing, that they could see a dim outline of the track in front of them, so they didn't get sick. But I was sitting further back, and I couldn't see when anything was coming. So yeah, I mean, that was just a ride I got sick on. So I don't do rides anymore. I'll let other people do them, and I'll just watch and laugh at them if they get sick. Probably not very kind to me, but you know, some of those things are at your own risk. There's a reason why some of us don't. why we just don't. Let me turn off these other points. None. I don't know why it shows those little triangle things. Alright, here comes more canola. Planting up the hill. We got these 3 smaller fields all in a row here. I haven't even really talked much about SeaWorld. I might go see that again. You know, that's wildlife, nature, or whatever, although the animals that they had in there were in captivity. You know, was there a killer whale? There was some seals, you know, that did tricks. Maybe a walrus or two. And then they had this tiny little otter. And they had names for all these animals, and they were so well trained and, you know, just hilarious. I remember it just being quite funny and amusing. The show that they put on, and it's, you know, it's amazing what some of those animals will do just to, kind of like dogs. You know, every night I put our dogs to bed, and we have our dogs kennel trained, and so they're outside, and so to keep anything from happening to them overnight or to keep them from wandering off entirely, we kennel them. We put them in these small kennels, and you know, if I was jammed into a tiny space, I would feel so claustrophobic you couldn't pay me enough hardly to get in there. But these dogs, they just love their kennels. They go streaking in there. I don't even have to call them. You know, when they see me heading out there, they just come and they sit there. They know I'm going to take their collars off. And when those doors are open, bam, they just rush in there like it's their favorite place to be. But I do always end up giving them a treat. I don't even think they do it for the treat anymore because we have 2 dogs, and so I always try to make sure both are in and that the doors are latched before I dispense the treats. So I would think the fact that they get a treat is somewhat disassociated from their action of getting in the first place, but I don't know. I don't know dog psychology, so... But these animals at SeaWorld seemed similar. You know, whether it was a little otter or the big killer whale or whatever that they had roaming around in there, whenever they did something cool, they were awarded a treat. You know, so they had a bucket of fish out there, you know, that the trainers would regularly feed them. It's just amazing, you know, what they're able to do. And working with the people and, you know, swimming with them somehow. And you know, I've also seen stories on the internet where, you know, they call them killer whales for a reason, you know, where they've literally killed human beings. And I don't know, I don't remember the reasons given. I don't know if anybody knows the reasons entirely, except that it's nature, it's a wild animal, and, you know, I mean, there are risks. And if you have one in captivity and it's supposed to be in the wild or would rather be in the wild, and I just don't know. Maybe it's protesting its captivity, who knows. There may be something to that. I mean, I've heard that about dogs before, that certain breeds, you have to keep working with them. And so if you're not going to work with them and keep them intellectually stimulated, then you just as well not have them, because if it could be that by not working with them, the dog is bored or starts, their behavior changes and they start acting out in other ways. I know my brother and sister-in-law had a dog for a number of years that nobody in the family really liked because, I mean, he had bitten several people and always had to be tied up, you know, would growl menacingly when any of us were over there. And I can't remember if they were biting even their own kids or... Well, finally they had the dog put down, and I think all of us kind of breathed a collective sigh of relief. But in some ways it's kind of sad. You know, one of my daughters is a vet tech, and that's kind of what she told me in terms of if there is a dog psychology, and, you know, specifically with this dog, and they weren't working it. And this was, I don't even remember what breed it was, but it needed more activity, and for whatever reason they weren't able to do that for the dog, so it was overly aggressive. So we didn't see anybody get eaten or anything like that. And when we were at SeaWorld, it was just good, clean entertainment and seeing some of these awesome creatures, you know, that live in the ocean. And I know there's different philosophies on whether animals should even be penned up, you know, whether these should be left in the wild, and I don't know how to answer that. I guess if you disagree with that, then going to one of their shows is something you would never do. Yeah, I just don't know what to say about that, except, you know, it seems like it'd be a learning opportunity, you know, seeing them in captivity. It's kind of like the nature of a zoo. You know, who of us haven't been to a zoo many times? You know, that was, I think when I was in grade school, we went to the zoo pretty much every year, you know, to see the animals, and there's a lot of learning that can take place. Jumpin' Jiminy, half an hour already gone by. Here these whirligig lights are spinning around and around. It's definitely a cool effect. And I think I've only ever seen it on this particular mod, by the way. I think I got a new field. Where is it? That number 43? No, 47. 47. We gotta rip it up first before we can plant it. So for the moment, we're just hitting our regular fields, trying to get it done. I got an hour and 12 left, and I think I pretty much see already I'm not going to be able to finish everything. So I think I should have rented it for 5 hour. Oh, now I'm damaging it too. Alright, we're up here on the Stonehenge field, or I believe Wes has... Oh, what are you doing that for? Wes has a different name for this particular field. I'll let him chime in as to what that is. We'll continue from here, and I need to go get the tractor so I have something to refill fill seeds when I empty. I'm probably going to be emptying on this field. Thank you so much for coming along. I'll let you go with that. Y'all have a wonderful day. Goodbye.